gotta tell you, I really liked this movie. I liked it a lot. And, I couldn't quite put my finger on it I was just enjoying the movie while I was watching it. But afterwards, I was like, wow, I liked that so much. And you know why I think that is? Because they gave Moana with the sequel the Greek mythology treatment. I love Greek mythology. A lot of superhero stories are built on Greek mythology. But Greek mythology doesn't always do well. But for those of us who love it, I think you'll really like Moana too. I mean, that was in my opinion, I think it's a clever idea because I like the way it turned out so much. But, this Rotten Tomato score out of the gate is concerning. We'll see what the audience score looks like in the box office. But again, I was delighted. But I didn't think that I was going to like it. I went in with rock bottom expectations. They couldn't have been lower, like bottom of the ocean. Why were they so low? Well, for so many reasons. This was supposed to be a streaming series for Disney Plus until Bob Iger was like, let's repurpose this as a movie and throw it up on the big screen. Then also, I didn't really like the first Moana. I only saw it one time in theaters, and I was like, meh. Now, of course, Moana has gone on to apparently be viewed a gazillion times on Disney Plus, but it kind of has the reputation of being a babysitting movie, it's just turned on in the background. And a lot of us have a problem, rightfully so, with babysitting movies because they're destroying how people watch content because, it's making it impossible for people to just sit down and watch a movie because they're used to just having it on in the background. So it starts with babysitting content and then, that just seeps in, it's annoying. Okay. So I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing the behavior that you see in theaters, from people, people basically acting like they're in their living room and they're only kind of half watching the movie. And I think that comes from streaming. Now also no Lin Manuel Miranda, who I think is hit or miss, but there's no denying he knows his way around a soundtrack, particularly Moana. I think a lot of people love the first film largely because of the music. And that might be one of the reasons that some people don't like the sequel because the music is not as good. But to me, I'm like, that's fine. I didn't particularly love the music in the first movie. And boy, this story's great. But some people don't, maybe Moana is not about story to them. Especially if they just have it on in the background. They're like, this is basically like a soundtrack, like an album, a music album with pictures, like just one long music video. That's interesting. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe to people, it's more of a music video than a film. That's fascinating. All right. So then also this very last minute review embargo from Disney. That just, I think, made everybody be like, oh, like to have the review embargo lift just hours before a movie hits theaters. That usually means the studio knows they have a real stinker on their hands. And sure enough, when that review embargo lifted, whoa, like surprisingly low, like, whoa. And you're like, what, is the movie that bad? Are people like kind of turning on Disney? You don't know. You don't know. I mean, maybe it's these other things that I just mentioned. Greek mythology is not for everybody. And it's more about the music than the story, which is all very interesting to me. But yeah, that's Rotten Tomatoes score is so low that when I saw it, because I couldn't get to the press screenings, when I was heading to the first showing of the day, I was like, ooh, am I wasting my time? Right? Like it's a busy holiday week. And I'm sure when many of you take a gander at this Rotten Tomatoes score, the same thought, creeps into your head. Is this maybe not a good use of time and money? But it's my job to review movies. And, I wasn't sure I was actually going to review this because, again, I couldn't make those press screenings. But a lot of you were like, oh, come on, it's the big Disney Thanksgiving movie. And I was like, you're right. So I made the time. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's like a good babysitting movie too. Like maybe that's what it is. And by the way, there's real value. And Disney's very good at making this kind of movie. Even if it's not a great movie, a movie that's for everyone. Particularly at these big holiday seasons. A movie that everyone from the littlest kids to the grandparents can all go and see together and, sit through. Something that appeals to the entire group. And so again, Disney's very good at that. And there's real money in being able to provide that. Because, when you're having a big family, multi-generational gathering, sometimes you just got to get out of the house and get everyone to shut up for a few hours. And so you're like, let's all go see Moana too. So I hope that at the very least, I could tell you that this movie would serve that purpose. And maybe at the very least it does. But again, I liked it. And you know what it reminded me of? Oh, all right. For those of you who remember this movie, you're about to light up like a Christmas tree too. So 2003, Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. Oh, it's so good. This was DreamWorks Animation's last 2D animated film, just like Princess and the Frog was that for Disney. And it makes those two films very special in just that regard, but I think they're both very good movies. But remember how good Sinbad was? What a great adventure movie. It went so hard. It was great. It had a little bit of Greek mythology elements to it as well. Huge flop. So again, like, what did you model Moana 2 after? This movie that was a horrible flop. And Bob Iger's like, I came back just, maybe too late for this movie, but it's a good thing I came back. But yeah, it had a good cinema score at least, although even the Rotten Tomatoes audience scores, whew, what a stinker. But I loved that movie. And I thought this movie had a lot of the same elements. Again, the Greek mythology treatment. To my delight, Moana 2 is also a seafaring adventure. I mean, the first one was, but that was more like a lifeboat movie. This was about like a ship at sea with a crew. I really like that. Moana, her crew now with more humans, and going up against multiple Polynesian gods. Oh, thank you. Also, as a woman, I must say, I really appreciated depicting Moana not just as an adventurer, but also highlighting the danger that she therefore puts herself in. Sure, the sea is her friend, which is a real cheat. Because here's the thing, the sea is nobody's friend. So I think it's disingenuous for Disney to be like, the sea likes Moana, and so it'll just help her out. And I'm like, the sea is not going to do that. The sea is it's an exciting but dangerous frontier. Just like any unexplored frontier, really. But it does call to people like it calls to Moana. And so I appreciated having a little more realism to depicting the life that she has chosen for herself. So to see Moana, therefore, wrestling with wanting to help her people, but also to be a risk-taking adventurer, to be the hero, to save the day, right? That's exciting, but it's also a risk. And she has to realize that means she might never come home again. And the emotional toll that takes on her loved ones, especially her little sister. There's this great scene in the movie when Moana's pushing off on her big adventure, and everyone in the village is like, good luck, Moana! But her sister is genuinely really afraid for her. And I thought that was great to put that in a movie like this. I really thought that was excellent. And also, the movie still has a lot of strong male characters, like Maui. So I think it does a good job kind of balancing things out, so that while it's a very female-centric film and very much spotlights a female heroine, I still think it doesn't feel like it's only for women. I mean, again, I would hope that people will be interested in everyone's stories, but we know from experience that's not the case. So I think there's a little bit of something in this for everyone. But when it comes to female characters, Disney princesses specifically, we rarely get to see what happens to them after their first film. And the few cases that we do, the sequels have made it seem like their best days are behind them. Although not Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time. What a direct-to-video sequel. But anyway, here Moana is not just a revered part of her community, but she's treated like a celebrity, which I thought was very funny. I thought they did a great job with that. And this movie makes it very clear that her best days are not just now, but ahead of her. And I think that is a great and important evolution to the Disney princess brand. To move past, before Disney princess movies are all about just getting married. And I think that, Disney, to its credit, has made a lot of effort, and they know their Disney princess brand is very popular. And, they still have those classic stories, but as they move ahead, I think they're evolving it to reflect women today. And I think that's really great. I really, really like that element a lot. I thought it was great. I know that Moana, by the way, is not technically a princess, and the movie has a very funny joke about that, which I got a kick out of. It's a very funny movie. I liked it. It seems that a lot of the criticism of the film so far is about it being originally created for Disney Plus, and therefore not really feeling like a film. So as I got ready to watch the movie, I was like, okay, I'm going to look for those clues, like obvious episode breaks and less cinematic visuals. But I got to tell you, I looked. I couldn't spot any. I have no idea how they would break this into episodes. It feels like a movie, and it looks like a movie, very cinematic. In fact, while I was impressed with many of the sequences and shots in the film, there was one in particular, Moana's big moment. You'll know she has a lot of big moments, but this one involves pink lightning. And it was so powerful that it kicked me out of the movie. It shot me out of the film, and I was like, what a shot. I mean, it was just really, really good. I was like, oh, this movie's going hard. Moana 2 actually has 3 directors, probably because it was originally supposed to be a series. And they're all new to directing, particularly features. And I think that they all knocked it out of the park. Disney was right. Well, one of them comes from outside Disney, and 2 of them are promoted from within. But these were excellent choices. The whole film is excellent, but what I really liked about it was how it evolved. To me, the first film felt like it almost took place all in the same space. You're like, I think they even made a joke about it, right? There's sea over there and sea over there, and there's more sea, and you were like, whoa, you saved a lot on background art, right? But here, this movie, Moana's journey seemed to have direction and purpose, much like her character. In the first movie, she was finding her way. She was very there was a lot of reacting. And I think here, her character is more confident and centered. And I think that made her more interesting to watch. And so I like that quite a bit. But the film keeps leveling up as it goes along, and it has different seeming locations. And so you feel like you're making progress. And I enjoyed that quite a bit. And again, it just has so many great messages for children and adults throughout. I was like, that's a great message. Oh, that's really good. Oh, I hope people pick up on that. I thought it was incredible. And the ending is very powerful. I was particularly moved twice. The first time with that big moment from Moana, which I just mentioned. And then again at the end, there's this reveal. Let's just say it involves ships. And I was like, oh, that's very nice. That's very, very nice. I liked that. The film also had me on the edge of my seat. They're like, they put the characters in real danger this time. I was like, oh, I don't know if you guys are going to make it. I even feared for Maui. And he's a demigod. The music's fine. It's not bad. It's not incredible either, but I would say it's enjoyable. Pleasant songs with very nice visuals. Although I loved the Polynesian elements. Disney's Polynesian Resort. I know that's not true Polynesia, but it is a family favorite of mine. So I have a very strong feeling of nostalgia for it. And unfortunately, I've never gotten the chance to actually go to Hawaii and the region, but I do appreciate it. And I appreciate that culture. And I think that they capture the Polynesian spirit really beautifully with the visuals and the music. Not so much the songs, but I think, they have some great drums. They have some, it was real. I thought those elements were nice. I'd say my favorite song is the villain song, Get Lost, although it's the least Polynesian, of a soundtrack that's not very Polynesian. That was the least. But Matangi is a very cool character, and I thought the song actually had fantastic life advice. I was like, oh, again, that was one of the moments where I was like, I hope people are paying attention, because this is excellent advice. On that note, let's talk characters. I was surprised to see some early reviews saying they did not care for Moana's new crew, because I really liked them. I was like, oh, they're great. And I think that the messages they encompass are, again, really important. It's important to take risks and get out of your comfort zone. That was a great message. But also, group efforts, that's also very important. And giving everyone the opportunity to step up and shine. Like they're heroes in unexpected places. Maybe not the level of Moana, but people have heroic moments in them. And also, it's almost impossible to achieve something at this level, like what Moana has to do, by yourself. You need a crew to sail a ship. And so I thought that was nice that was part of this movie. Plus, you don't need the gods or even a demigod to do extraordinary things. The fact that Moana's crew is all human, I think, well, except for that pig and chicken, but they don't do anything. But that's, I think, an important part of the film. But Maui is here. It takes a little time for him to show up. But wow, Dwayne Johnson, when he's good, he's really still very good. He brings a lot of star power to the movie. And with so many female characters, again, as I said, he does an important job of balancing out the movie appeal-wise. He's very funny. I love his living tattoo here. So good. And his character just continues to be a lot of fun. He is way bigger than everyone else. But for the live action version that they just currently finished filming, maybe they could have just scaled The Rock up with CGI, or maybe in the live action version, he's not that much bigger than everybody else, because he still doesn't look this big, even with that crazy muscle plastic shirt they made him wear. But you know what? Speaking of the live action remake, considering how much this film evolves the story here, particularly Moana herself, she evolves in so many different ways. I can't imagine audiences wanting to go back to square one with a live action remake. It's like, I want to see what happens to Moana next. I don't want to go back to see her origin story again, because her character it's so different by the end of the movie. You're like, why are we going to go backwards again? Ahi Cravajo is fantastic. She's always been a great singer, but since the first Moana, she's had a number of more acting opportunities, and I think she's really stepped up her game as an actress. She just really does an exceptional job. Moana's little sister is adorable. Oh, I loved her. It's interesting. She is Moana's little sister, but she often seems more like Moana's daughter. And that makes the movie sometimes feel like an honest yet empowering commentary on what it is to be a working mother. And I thought that was also a really nice element for the film. As I said, Matangi is fantastic. What a great addition to this franchise. I wish the movie had even more Polynesian gods like Greek mythology, but stay around for that mid-credit scene. That was very, very nice. I would love, based off of that, to get a Moana 3. I was like, oh, this is getting really good. I guess if it was originally going to be a series, that was a tease for like a season 2, but I mean, I'd stick in this theatrical space. Well, I mean, let's see how this does. But I thought it was very strong. Ended strong, made some strong promises for going forward. As for Moana's new human crew, lots of great characters here. Again, surprised that some people didn't like them. Lotto, such a nice addition to the group. She's like the gadget of the ship's crew. And it's refreshing to give a Disney princess a female friend. Anna and Elsa were sisters. This is a female friend who has a significant and meaningful role in the film. I thought that was really nice. Again, an evolution of the Disney princess brand. Also, I will say, though, that Moana is a bit of a Mary Sue. The human crew, not so much. We'll talk about in a moment. But Moana, she is a bit of a Mary Sue, but the movie makes that work because, again, they're giving the film the Greek mythology treatment. So Moana, they're kind of pushing her in the direction of a special human who is known to the gods. And again, I thought that was a great idea to take that element from Greek mythology, and I think all mythology, but I'm just most familiar with Greek mythology, which I guess someone who's a big fan of Polynesian mythology was like, it's from that too, Grace. But you know what I'm saying. So I don't want to give any spoilers, but the direction that this ultimately goes in, I liked it a lot. I thought that was great as well. But the humans, well, Moana's a bit of a Mary Sue. The humans here make mistakes. In fact, Lotto's saying, her mantra, is that there is no perfection. There's only failing and then learning. And I thought that was, again, another great message. I thought that was really great. Moni is another great character, and I love having another big guy on the team who's not a demigod, but can still really hold his own. So that was great. It's like, well, again, you'll see. And then there's also the farmer Keely, who has a fantastic character arc. I really loved what they did with him. Finally, the crew adds a Kakamora character, a warrior, and I thought this was a fantastic addition. I was like, oh, this was a good idea. The pig and the chicken, they didn't really do it for me as silent Disney sidekicks, a staple of particularly the Disney princess movie. But this little guy, love him. So I had a lot of fun with Moana 2. I saw it in Dolby, by the way, which I think did make a really big difference. It looked amazing and it sounded amazing. So particularly the sound effects and those Polynesian drums. So I would try and see it on a premium screen if you can. I just had a really good time. It was great. And if you like Greek mythology and mythology stories in general, I think you will enjoy it as well. If you're looking for more of the music, maybe. But I think at the very least, it's something that everyone can at least watch together. So it does serve that purpose as well. We'll see what happens with the box office and the audience score. As you see the movie over the weekend, share your thoughts down below. No spoilers, but I would be curious to hear your reactions. All right, because again, I'm so mystified by some of these reactions that we're seeing. All right, so that's my review of Moana 2, now in theaters. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.